Cody Wilson sees himself as a humble rebel,
Just a little anarchist in Austin, Texas.
an amateur philosopher,
Baudrillard says that power, like in this hegemonic phase, tries to accumulate to itself all functions.
and a son of the South.
It's these more noble values from the American South, right, and from a lost cause mentality that informs what happens here.
This is a Colt M16, a printed high-capacity magazine.
Wilson is one of America's most controversial gunmakers. At his range in Austin, he shows off his latest creations, a homemade Glock and an AK-47.
I can shoot standing like this. I can shoot from this.
It's what people come here to see, but it's not what he wants to talk about.
I took no particular interest in the firearm, and to be honest, it's, I'm sure, a scandal. I'm not greatly in love with them, but I understand what it is to make them. I understand what it is now to make a living helping other people make them.
He's come a long way since 2013, when he became the first person to use a 3D printer to produce a working plastic handgun. Soon after, he uploaded the blueprint for the gun to his company's website.
Defense Distributed's goal isn't really personal armament. It's more the liberation of information. It's about living in a world where you just download the file for the thing you want to make in this life.
But in choosing to make guns, Wilson forced a showdown with the federal government, which said posting his blueprints online, available for all the world to see, was akin to shipping arms overseas without a license.
So we went on offense and sued the U.S. State Department and said, no, not only are we not going to perform commodity jurisdiction with you, we believe that if this is data we generated ourselves, that we have the unquestioned right to share on the internet without a cognizant authority giving approval.
Wilson's lawyers argued that the gun blueprints were just data, that data was speech, and speech was protected by the Constitution. After years in the court, the government settled with Wilson in June, and for a brief period, he was allowed to re-upload his designs.
If you do respect the right to free speech, if you do respect the Second Amendment, you have no legal way of stopping me from publishing this information and committing it to the public domain. You can't do it. So, my anarchist contribution is to take these arguments to their logical conclusions, to their terminus.
The terminus, in this case, could be a new age of unregulated, do-it-yourself gunmaking. There are hundreds of 3D blueprints like Wilson's, and his company has developed its own consumer-grade machine capable of turning those blueprints into the real thing.
This facility was built to fund a lawsuit and to make a milling machine that we named the Ghost Gunner. We began selling it to the public in November of 2014 and have sold many thousands of these units since. We help people with this device finish AR-15s, AR-10s, 1911 frames, and soon polymer 80 Glock frames.
With Wilson's machine and the designs his team has worked to perfect, anyone can make an untraceable handgun or semi-automatic rifle from the comfort of their home. What they might do with those weapons doesn't concern him.
This is the first and most persistent question I'm ever asked. But don't you feel bad? Don't you feel like maybe something bad will happen? I'm sorry, but this really isn't how I approach the question. And it's still propaganda for me to demonstrate that actually the results and the consequences and the conversation about power, these are the real essence of the debate, and they're beyond questions of good and evil.
Wilson's legal troubles aren't over. He's been forced to take down his blueprints again after a new round of state lawsuits, but he's still spoiling for a fight.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain to you that I am from a different planet and that you are from somewhere else, and that there is no bridge between us, and that you live in a society which will have to respect these rights of mine, or I will force a conflict, right? I will force a legal conflict which will break the thing that you pretend to care about.
His struggle isn't just against gun control laws, but against all laws.
I will make these politicians and these AGs cut through every speech law they have. I will make them cut it all down. I will not stop. I will not consent to their judgments. I will make them ruin their states.